Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here, get ready for Gnosis. Well, in my continuing education on radionics, there are a lot of basics that people are overlooking. Now, how do these machines work, etc.? I've kind of covered this, and I will be having a course coming out in the next few months that will detail all this on CDs that also will give you empowered symbols to use, and actually you can assemble a little symbolic machine your own. Now, I have a basic course out already, which is more historically based, and that's important as well. You should know the whole subject. This is a critical area of subtle energy physics, which really solves the problems of the universe, and you should be informed about it. Who the people involved in it? What did they do? What is their history? Should we trust them? And one of the problems is that there's very few credible people in any profession whatsoever. Can you trust anybody because he has a PhD, a MD, or whatever? Well, basically not. It's very hard to know where your particular, quote, scientist, medical professional is coming from. Everybody is tied to the belief system that signs their checks, and that's really what it comes down to. And they also have their own personal prejudice. They believe in ever what they want to believe in, regardless of scientific fact. And basically, that's what's written in a book that's probably 100 years old and really doesn't have much value anymore. Even if it's 10 years old, it probably doesn't have any value. Things are changing very quickly. So who do you trust in what? So you have to find people that are really on the cutting edge of what's going on and understand where they're coming from. So if they're scientific slaves, people like Sean Carroll, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is that his name? Whatever it is. These people are tied into the system. Now, they all have a little bit of interesting viewpoints that make them kind of a bit sane, 5% sane, but they jump back into their training, which is all wrong and just very foundation-based of not really producing much of anything. Theoretical physics is a failure, and there's no breakthroughs from over 100 years, and basically that means the breakthroughs that they did have 100 years ago were discovered 100 years before that. Einstein didn't get his information in the 50s or even the 20s when he published papers. He got his information from the 1800s. So we need to understand that, and then it came through his consciousness, and the fact is that he was wrong in most of what he talked about. Were there some good things? Well, all life is the balance of the good and bad, and is there more good than bad, etc. So let's get back into the misinformation, and one of the critical areas in radionics that everybody is just skimming over, and that is having proper witnesses. Now, if you're going to tune into a particular person or a thing, etc., you need to have a good subtle energy signature of that particular item. Now, one of the most critical things, of course, is when you're working on yourself or someone else. Now, it gets difficult at times to get the perfect witness, but there's a few types of witnesses you can use. But the best and easiest type is a proper Polaroid instant camera. Now, this does okay, but if you're not using the IGOS one, which we have drawn in huge amounts of extra energy that we condense into the film, then you are not getting a good witness. Now, people want to get results. They buy these crap machines that poison them like the orgone ones. They get into so many things and spend a fortune on pseudo-computerized stuff. You have to have the proper camera. Now, if you're not using a Polaroid, you are not getting the energy there. So plain and simple, film, when you're using chemicals, the photons go out, when you take a picture of someone, it's all based on letting light in. Now, the photons that you point at are bouncing off your subject, going back into the camera, actual physical film, and holding the energy there. Now, when you use one of the IGOS cameras, you're holding almost all of the energy from that subject, at least about 95 to 98%. A regular Polaroid, you're only getting about 60%. So you're already going way down. If you use digital, you're getting virtually nothing. That's the reality. 35 millimeter old developed cameras, all those things don't hold energy that well, even though old cameras who used actual film that you developed tend to pick up certain things. But generally, anybody who's trying to do any kind of serious energy research uses Polaroids. You notice they don't do that in the Ghost films, all the series, because they're ignorant buffoons. I've used these for years and got amazing effects. Picked up things you would never see anywhere else. So using any kind of high quality digital is a nonsensical idiot's way of doing things. And I'm really a little bit tired of hearing this from that prove absolutely nothing. Now, originally, if you want to go back to people who did it correctly, the SE5, which has been out there for years, always came with a Polaroid camera in the past. Now, I'm not sure what he's using now today, but they came with a Polaroid camera that they gave you with the machine, and you inserted the Polaroid picture into the machine. Now, Polaroids are not supposed to look good. They don't pick up images well. They pick up energy well. That's right. So you could call these energy cameras, and it's there because it's in the film. Now, people who think they're getting stuff from digital are just uninformed people. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to measure energy fields. So I've heard this for a long time from many people, and they say, well, then we take the digital and then we amplify it. You are? You're amplifying it what? Through solid state amplifiers? Of course you are, because that's all you know about, because you're uninformed. So the point is, if you're not using tube amplification of a particular type, and our tube amplification, we change at the core. The core, we use special energetic sigils and energies that change these particular tube amps, which are already good. At their very essence, we change how they take in energy and project it out. We do the same with our little transmitters. So the whole idea is that's how you have to do things right. Now, you can do things wrong. Yeah, that's right. Make sure you draw in or accumulate energy from the atmosphere. That's called orgone garbage, and you will poison yourself. And there's a long list of people using orgone machines that have gotten sick from them. So the other people that think they want to cut corners and not buy a decent camera and get a particular film because they know better, well, you're not doing the correct work. And of course, like with everything I've studied from the many people who claim to be the great wizards and the great radionic practitioners, every single one of them horribly failed when they were tested. So this is the nature of things, and affecting random people is very difficult. Affecting yourself is easier, or if you're emotionally involved with someone. Well, all of this, or have at least some base contact, all of this assists the affecting of others. Randomly affecting a people is difficult to say the least, and you would have to, of course, do all the correct things. So using the correct type of witnesses is very important. So it's going to be difficult, though, because getting a Polaroid picture of somebody is a little bit difficult, but not overly if you're really serious. So if you really seriously want to do work on someone, you ask them to actually go out and get a Polaroid picture. Now, ideally, as a practitioner, you should be using the IGOS enhanced camera. If it's somebody else, well, I mean, you can get these cameras, the lower quality ones, the Fuji ones, you can get on Amazon and other places for about $60 with film in them, $60 to $80. So it's not like it's a huge investment for someone, and it may be part of what is required depending upon the work you're doing from someone. So ideally, if you want great results, that's what you ought to be providing your practitioner. Now, there are a little bit other easier ways to do this. Now, we're trying to get the signature of that person, and ultimately, their signature is their cosmic code. Now, a cosmic code is a number representation of your energy in the universe. Now, everything in the universe has a specific energy signature. This is called their cosmic code. Now, ideally, if you have that on a person, you are now locked into them and can send them all the energy you want to that and get the effects you want. So that's ideally. Now, you can do this by using if you're an experienced practitioner who is at a high level of abilities, you can do this from anything that that person provides you. So I can do it from someone's name, address, birth date, email, etc. I can lock into anybody I want there and get their cosmic code. Few people have the skill to do that. Now, the average person who may be pretty good at using pendulums can do this from a standard photograph. Because again, you have a standard photograph to lock things in. But it is not a good energy. You're taking a standard photograph to get a higher level cosmic code from them. So this is the code that, as I just stated, that represents you in this universe. Now, your physical image is very similar to everybody else's. So it is not really the ultimate. Your energy field is not. But a lot of people look similar, same color hair, same color eyes, same shape kind of. Of course, we all look a little different, but it's not the best way to lock into someone. You want to use that tool to again get a higher energy. Now, another way to lock into someone that can be done pretty easily is to get a piece of hair from them, and you don't need a lock of hair. So you need half an inch of hair that you cut off in terms of the length, the depth of it, half an inch by half an inch. You cut that off with a little piece of scissors. You put it on some clear vinyl tape, and you tape that onto a white piece of paper. White is good because it's neutral. So, and then you have that person's energy signature, which you can then turn into a cosmic code or a number symbol that represents your actual energy. So this is very important of getting witnesses. Now, if you don't have this, it means you don't have the proper witness, not only to tune in information from, but you don't have the proper witness to send information. Because you got to remember, when you tune in a radionic instrument, you tune into whatever that person, whatever that energy is you're seeking, and then you put the witness of that person on the out plate where what you just tuned in goes to. Now, I don't know how many people understand that. So you're not necessarily tuning into the person. So what we're doing right now is building up people's, particularly negating any kind of toxins they may have gotten into their systems, energetic toxins from the different things that people are taking now. And so we come up with that rate. And it is specific to that person. So what is the anti or counter rate for this problem for Joe Smith? And you put Joe Smith's picture on the in plate. I like to call them in and out. Generally, it's a witness plate. So that energy is flowing in there, and now you're getting an actual number representation for Joe Smith specifically. This is the most powerful way to do it, but you need to have that energy field. If you've got a bad picture, you've got a quasi-energy field, well, you're going to get worse results, but it gets even worse than that. Once you finish tuning in that rate, you move the picture or the witness of that person to the out plate, because that's where you just dialed this in. The energy is now flowing out to the out plate. So the energy from there is then being connected to that person. So there's a multi-connection. You've come up with the rate that's tuned into the person and so forth, but you generally also put a physical representation or an energetic representation there, meaning this is their photograph, their hair, etc. Now the energy is going to that particular vibrational energy. Now, if this is some sort of digital garbage, you're going to get very poor results. So anybody that's gotten any results has not gotten it because of the process. They're gotten by using digital. What they are getting is the fact that they are sending their thought form there. Now, a lot of people think that they want to digitalize everything because it's cheap and inexpensive, putting computer radionics. This is all garbage going through your computer. Now, the SE5 that's out there is basically not a computerized unit. These are scalar energies there. There's a certain quasi-punching in of numbers there, but the actual function and broadcast of that unit, as I understand it and have seen it, is that there's all sorts of antennas in there. These antennas are grabbing the cosmic codes that they have created and then broadcasting it to the target. So it's very important that you have these. Now, we're talking about subtle energy physics here, and the key word there is subtle. So every step that you make with digital uses of things is downgrading your energy dramatically. And people claim a lot of stuff and they have absolutely no proof that any of it works. And people who want to do things through computers because they're so magnificent with their 89 toxic metals and chemicals in them is absurd. And it always has been absurd where people somehow think that computerization is magic. Computers are good for a lot of things, but they're not good for dealing with subtle energy physics as an energy unto itself. How is the energy getting into it? Do you have special plates that go into your computer? Or are you using special things that go out of your computer? To think that you can amplify it is a complete and total joke. It doesn't work. Now, people have tried different things to empower things which seem to have an increase in effects, things like holograms, etc. Well, this is all fairly unknown. People like that. It's a bunch of rhetoric, and the bottom line is that there isn't really much proof out there. There's one guy that seems to be getting some proof, but you really have to wonder, because it certainly isn't taking over, or he may be blocked. But certainly there's something to that. But do you even need to do that? Well, not really. If you've got a powerful witness and you've tuned in the energy properly, you don't need to have holograms per se. Are they helping? Well, people have jumped on the bandwagon there, and we are researching that. But you use every little bit you can. But if you're disregarding what a proper witness is, well, then you've got a problem. So the bottom line is that you need a proper empowered Polaroid picture that you want to use all the time. I use these exclusively. I'm not looking for pretty pictures. When I want pretty pictures, I use a quality digital camera. Most of these instant new Polaroid things, which there are Polaroid as a trade term, is still out there. There's Fuji. There's a whole bunch of people. The technology for making a Polaroid camera is not really anything that's special. The film is, I don't know if someone owns that or not right now, but you can buy the rights to all that stuff anyway. So Polaroid film really hasn't seemed to improve very much, and that's what it is. And it certainly, depending on the camera, etc., doesn't give a very good picture. But there are people making high-quality Polaroid cameras right now. I think it's lithography or something, and you can get different lenses, etc. People like this. You get a quick instant camera right in front of you. You don't have to carry a printer around with you and connect your phone to it. And of course, you are getting an interesting picture that way. So this certainly is a technology that hasn't died. As a matter of fact, for one reason or another, it seems to be very popular. And it is relatively inexpensive. Of course, you can get a really good Polaroid camera. There's even ones with glass lenses in them for a few $100s. So there's a wide variety of these, and people need to get into this photography again if you are a radionic or energy practitioner. You go to a haunted place, you go to a holy place, well, you're going to pick up the energy from there very easily by using an enhanced Polaroid camera or a Polaroid camera in general. But you are losing again, getting that extra amount. So if you go to a sacred site that has lots of energy, well, you want to bring that back with you. You do that by using an enhanced IGOS camera. Simple as that. You want to go to graveyards and see if you can find images and energies. I've done this numerous times. Well, that's what you use, and you generally get good results. Again, none of this is easy. You just can't pop around everywhere and see ghosts. But if you're in an area that has it, this is the greatest way to do that. And they're able to, when you take a picture of these things, they're able to manipulate these photons as it goes back in the camera, and you're able to get some sort of images. So this is can be done even with other cameras to a degree, but I've actually taken pictures of places like Sedona and Giant Rock where I actually had energies were photographs coming out of the ground. Very, very interesting. You're not going to get this with any other camera. So let's get past all this disinformation. I'm a little bit tired with non-professional people that have no background, that aren't using IGOS equipment, and really know absolutely nothing about the field, who are using junk made by criminal Satanists, and telling me how wonderful or what they know. Well, let's see what you know. And if people have proof or techniques, well, I'm open to anything that works. But we know what the basic science is. And there's a science to radionics. There's a science of how it works, how the energies are generated, and what it takes to make a good witness. And it's really not too difficult to get a little bit of hair from somebody so you have a good vibration of them. Using any kind of photographs is not as good as that generally, even though using enhanced camera techniques from what that we offer locks you into that person. So, and a lot of times maybe you're not going to be able to get a sample of someone, and you can probably get a picture. There certainly is something that someone wouldn't overly object to. So let's stay with the science. Let's stay what works here and not what people's opinions are, people that know nothing, people who haven't studied anything, people who are in this field strictly for money or trying to actually mislead you, because this technology is awesome. And they're misleading you by producing a bunch of junk that is polluted with evil, toxic energy. This is a fact that people have to understand in this field. So